Hello and welcome. Today is Monday, 16th day of September 2019. And 8 years ago, on the 16th day, September the 16th, Bitcoin was priced in at $4.85, almost 1 month removed from the start of this exchange, at least it looks like. But when you see movements like this, the volatility, well, it was high because it went from like 12 to like 5, but the volume and the amount of participation, because the way these markets select, there weren't too many people interested in Bitcoin back then. A year later, things would pick up a bit as the price got up to 11.17 on the 16th day in 2012. And at this point, there was a nice little setup, which, well, didn't really do anything immediately. But a year after that, it was over $100 in at 126 in 2013. The main event for that time was the start of the year in the second week of January as it shot up from 12 to 242. The setup had a nice time at this stage in 2013, but prices ended up having an intraday crash. And spoiler, it didn't spoil the Bitcoin market because things kept on going. And in the year 2014, it was up to 462 on September 16, 2014. And that little crash was just back in here before the big rally occurred in October. This one went from 1.25 up to 1100. And then the year 2015 came, and on September 16th, on that day, it closed at 228. And what a phenomenally bad year for the market, after all. The year before, it was a little bit higher. We had another one of these little crashes in here. At 228, well, that was the area of what the low was. Yet another spoiler, but there's nothing to spoil here because, well, everybody knows. 2016, in the year, or on the day rather, September 16th, $606 was a close that day. And it was a good year as, well, it didn't take long from September 16th in here. I mean, this was, yeah, it was at the bottom, 220, then a nice run higher. Nice consolidation throughout the end of 2015 and the first few months of that year. And then from May until June, a beautiful leg. But after the June 16th or so rally, it just went sideways all the way up until this point. In 2017, things got really interesting, as it was a phenomenal year, getting well above 3,000. At that point, it was up to $5,000 after having resistance at 3, and again at 1,300 and 1,000, which was those previous years high from back in here. But overall for the year, it was another good one. And on September of 2016, well, just like the year before, it really shot up at that point. Well, really not much of a difference here, but the real gains really didn't start until March of 2017. It was already close to 1,000 and then. And after this, it didn't take long before this thing would just, go up nice higher and have big gains. But on September 16th, 2018, the price was lower. Or at least it was from the high down to 6,500. After all, the year before that, it was a little bit below that price. And that would be the prelude before or early on of a short time or continuation of more time of the microscopicest volatility I've ever seen and the price fall. So there was a microscopic volatility and the price fall. A year later represents today, with right now the price in at 10,150. And the fall down, the move higher. But with every one of these years, stories can be a little bit different. But more importantly, as each year goes by, what happened then is just, oh, really? That's just something worth knowing of interest. Really, nothing much more than anything other than using whatever maybe advanced particulars of all data, but we are in a situation where we can start to look at this on a more longer term, long level, in this that of it's very, very new. And I can only look at a few. Oh, last year it looked like that, and the year before that. There is only so many year befores that. If I did the year before of what was going on with the stock market, well, it would take a long time. And I've seen these big moves. So 30, 40, 50,000 next year, or having just something that's totally different from where we are now in 12 months. Yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise. As far as where we stand right now in price action, all bets trades of alike within each his own risk and their own reward. Well, there's an obvious descending triangle, or a symmetrical triangle, rather. And even, not only is it a symmetrical triangle, but it's not really resistance here as far as where it's hit, but it has hit this way. Regardless of the fact, however you want to look at it, it's in an indecisive pattern for what the next leg is when I say indecisive. And it's got to break it one side or another. But as showing last year, this was point of the huge volatility in which it had to settle at one time, one side or another, and it ended up doing it for what ended up being that of a failed breakdown. And on the single hour time frame, this has had a decent size fall on this break of major support and back down to the level that was tested 3 days ago at 4 p.m. Eastern at around 10,150. Where we go from here, do we have continuation down? If we do, roughly around 99.50 in here. And then, of course, the even 10,000 would represent a possible level, decent length, well within this lower area, not the exact lows, but where it actually traded sometimes a good amount of periods. But back to this level for a second time. If there's going to be other possibilities than going down to here to test this, that means it's not going to go down or much. And if it doesn't go down much, maybe it congests in this area. There's just so many possibilities. Another possibility is that we resist this major area of previous support. And another possibility is a failed breakdown, which means it really doesn't resist this or not for long, and then it gets back in the 10,300 range. But as it goes, a lot of times within these markets, you're going to have your decent moves up or down. In this case, it's down. And then just really go sideways and just hang in there for a while. We'll see how it goes for today. Now let's take a very quick look at the altcoins, finish it off within Bitcoin dominance. And within Cosmos, I got these lines in here, and they're not Fibonacci. They're just where they came from, or previous levels of where the supports were. As after coming up to this level here at 2636, doing so from September the 8th and leaving it on September the 12th, or for 4 days. It came above it, went below it, resisted it practically perfectly, and then going back down, breaking out above the resistance, and then staying above it, supporting it overall for this time, mostly congesting within it, resisting it one final time in here, and then breaking out on, as I mentioned. And a concise move with a little bit of congestion near 3,000, a little above, and it hit this level of resistance multiple times. And well, the last few hours, starting at 3 o'clock this morning, has been fading lower. We've seen it go down from, or I'm looking at it right now, go down from 34 low change and down to 31 low change. That's about a 10% move in volatility. And then as we can see of these lines, it's just this line matches this support, this line matches this support, and this line matches that one. So I suppose getting it above here, well, the next level would be 4,017, or 4,700 rather. And back in the level of support, I'm always going to be looking for the 18, but it just happens to coincide with this general area where we were, 27 and a quarter down to 25. And these coins here, just part of trading to increase the value. Really, another day, another 950 Satoshi. LITECOIN is what I like to trade this, or what I am trading this against. And the volatility, like a lot of these put together, well, it's there, it's present. At the very early stages, there was resistance near about 23 with Litecoin divided by Atom, or Litecoin worth 23 times more. And then the constant run here from this early June rally to this top, which occurred on September the 5th, as it went from 16 and pretty much doubling to 32 and giving back an okay amount of that down to 20. And on the single hour, the ratio in at 21 and 3/4, and let's have a nice little lift. I'm waiting for it to go above this line. It's relatively close. I could make a trade now. I really don't want to yet. Now, as far as what I've traded in the month of September, my last 3 trades have been selling Atom or Cosmos to buy Litecoin, and 6 of my last 7 have done such. For on the 5th, I ended up selling at 34.12, which would have been up in here. And then the next day, the market went down to 30.74, which was on September the 6th. So one of these lower end areas, I would have made the trade. 2 days later, 27.07, which would have been on this move going lower here on this break and this lower end here. Then 24.42 on September the 9th, which was this bottom in here and at the lower end. So we can see there's those 3 sells, buy up here. I did so near 27, so I didn't get this higher end. But then as it was going down, I got it back in 24.38 as it was going down. But it went down further, so there was more buying. Doing so at 21.83, and then yesterday at a hair below 20. And like always, markets go up and then they go down and they keep repeating the cycle. And concluding today's or this morning's crypto video with Bitcoin dominance, as we're looking at this calculated by trading view. And since the run in April here, pattern or the market within the pattern has been holding up and not letting down, breaking and all that stuff. Well, we're in a situation of another test for it to do so. It's got a long ways to go, especially with all this empty space. And even on any moves, quick moves, you could just have a quick move down, which bottoms. That takes maybe 1 to 3 or 4 or 5 days to get there. And maybe not on the bottom part, but it has to do a lot more than even just wake one leg lower. But it's, even though it's technically below the 18 average of lows, I really don't count that as such. I just count that as holding in there within such. And I won't even say it's showing weakness on the 18 lows, because I got to say that when it's in a downtrend or a neutral or and not in an uptrend. When it's in an uptrend, I'll say stuff like showing strength at the 18 highs like it did in here. But where it goes, it's got a long ways to go. But going down below here, I mean, this thing has been overextended at some point. It's going to have to top, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have a situation of significant moves of lower highs and lower lows, or just a significant lower lower too, which means big volatile red size plays that will happen in the future. But whenever you're doing stuff like guessing tops or bottoms or whatnot, they can be very hard, and oftentimes you're going to be wrong. That's just the way it is. And well, if you know it's going to revert, and oftentimes you're going to be right about that. The question is, at what point will it do it, and how big? Because you could be saying, this was up too much at 63, it's got to pull back down. And now you're saying it's up too much at this, and it's got to pull back down. And go up to 86, it's up too much, and then it does pull down. And maybe then it only pulls down to 75, which is still higher than here. So that's one way you could be like, yeah, I was right, it was going to pull down, and no, actually, no, you were, but that was so easy, and you would have been wrong. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.